We're in the middle of Ois, the second paragraph of Ois Daled. So what is the Maimet out to explain here? Why the hashpah of the man of all things is the VaYarivecha b'yoymai. One day cannot give to or even lend to the other, in the words of the Zohar. And there's no manna on Shabbos, but there is manna from Shabbos all the 6 days of the weeks. So he answered why there's no manna on Shabbos, because on Shabbos, the 6 days, what's the answer, anybody? The 6 days of the week, the 6 middays on Shabbos, this is the Nakuda, the answer of the whole thing. No, what happens on this? A technical answer, answer technically. So what happens on Shabbos? Is the aliyah of the 6 middays to the moker, to the source. The source of the man is what? Anyone? What's the source of the man? As opposed to other hashpois. I didn't hear what you said. Yeah, the source of the manna is pnimis atik. Again, the point we said a few shurim ago, the Maimer is explaining basically a difference between hashpah atzmius / atik and hashpah of oir or ha'orah. That's the core of it, which we need to develop and understand. But that's the core issue here. That manna is not like the rain and the grass that continues to grow. Those hashpahs happen on Shabbos. That's because they're chitzonius. That's because it's chitzonius. But Shabbos is not, so it can happen because it's not what Shabbos isn't doing that, as it were, because Shabbos is in atzmi. That's chitzoni. It's not unlike how the world exists from candlelighting at Rosh Hashanah till the blowing of the shofar. The Eibush has withdrawn his nisave, his desire. How does the world continue to exist? Chitzonius means as a means to an end. Chitzonius achayis, which we learned about at length, right? So, all to say that the manna is hashpah, is rooted in Tainuka Elyon. And therefore there's no manna on Shabbos because all of creation ascends to that level. On Shabbos, we touch the level of Nis'ave HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Eibush reaffirms every Shabbos to all of creation by bringing creation into him. By Chul HaShemayim V'Aretz, the ascent, the absorption of heaven and earth within the Eibush, and every Shabbos the Eibush affirms it's all because of my desire, my chosen tainug, that I choose to desire and crave to be connected to you in the deepest way. That's what happens every Shabbos. There's no hashpah. Then, after the 6 days of the week, which is creation, has plugged into this level, then every day of creation is megala this tainug. On Sunday, and on Monday, and on Tuesday, and on Wednesday, and on Thursday, and on Friday. We haven't answered why it cannot be integration yet. Why it has to be dafke VaYarivecha b'yoymai, but it is all because this is inyan atzmi, which we will explain presently. The Maimer is explaining it. All right? So we've answered the question without explaining the answer. We've answered the question. We've answered the question why there's no hashpah on Shabbos. We've answered why every day of the week it's VaYarivecha b'yoymai, because this is inyan atzmi. We actually answered this in the previous shurim at length. How oil is constantly going through change, iluv olol, etc. But let's see, in the words of the Maimer, he gives an example now. He gives an example, that's our up to now, of Amshacha Atzmis, that it doesn't change. Meaning that even though the manas that comes down, it's not the pure tainug, it's a tainug murgish. I'm not going to repeat the explanation again. There's tainug murgish and tainug bilti murgish. We explained this in the previous 2 shiurim ago. Even though it comes down the way of tainug murgish, but still, be'etzem it's tainug. Now, an example for that is so in the middle of the second paragraph of Adam, he just finished saying that when the revelation is not etzem, but oir and ha'ara, someone just make a note here. What's a note? Where are we holding inside? Okay, so it's page Kuf Pei Daled. There's no, it's in between the numbers 21. It's a few lines above, like 10 lines above the number 21. So he just finished saying that when the revelation is Oir or Ha'ara, same thing. Then as the Oir descends, it undergoes change. Ilav Olun, radical change. Atzilus gives way to Bria, and Bria to Yitzirah, Yitzirah to Asiyah. This is all the symptom, this is all Oir. But an Atzmi doesn't change. This, by the way, is also true of the Neshama. Since the Neshama is an Atzmi, notwithstanding the fact rooted in chelik lekam mal mamish, or is a chelik lekam mal mamish. So notwithstanding the fact that neshama descends through all of the ilamas, and hence the great disparity in levels between one neshama and the other, be'etzem it doesn't undergo a fundamental essential change. It retains its identity as a chelik lekam mal mamish, even in the lowest level of its emergence. Malchus the dasiyah. That's because the neshama, to begin with, like the man, is an inyan atzmi. As opposed to Oir, that's all of Ishtalshalis, that's what it is, it's Oir. And Oir is revelation, by definition, changes constantly. In its revelation, further is weaker, closer is stronger. And when the Oir is played upon, it undergoes changes. The tzimtzum, refraction of the light, causes changes, and all kinds of interesting things. That's Oir. Now, an example, as often the case, sometimes examples confuse us more, but let's see. Adam, somebody has the place. He's going to give an example of Hamshach. Everything is relative. Even though, I stress this, because even though beginning with Seichel and Midas are Oir of the Neshama, they're not the Etzim, but within the Koiches, the Oir itself is also al derech lingen of etzem compared to, in contrast to Oir. Everything is always relative because there's just one God and manifesting all of this, so the oneness pervades everything. So not surprised that all of these things, these mishalim, these relative mishalim or illustration, not mishalim, these relatives illustrations exist on all levels. Even though b'chalal we're talking about seichel midas, that's Oir. But in Oir itself, there's also the etzem and the ha'ara. Let's see. There's two ways that seichel, which is our etzem, in our case right now, seichel is our etzem. That's true in a broader sense. A human being fundamentally is a thinker, is an intellectual. That's what he should be anyway. That's a human being. So there's two ways that seichel produces midas. When the Amshach is only not the etzem ha'moichin but ha'ara. What does this mean? This means, what does he use his seichel for? To justify his midas. The starting point is midas. Is I want, I'm afraid. Now how am I going to get it? I'm not going to get it to justify it. That's a ha'ara. That's not the etzem ha'moichin. What is governing him here is his emotions, his taivas, whatever it is. So in such a case, when Amshach is only ha'ara sa'moichin bilvad, it really is not about the moichin, the objective truth, but but rather the seichel is only there to serve the midas. Then, so it's b'chinas ha'midas shebeseichel. What does it mean? What does it mean? What do we mean by the ha'ara of the moichin? We mean the midas within seichel. Seichel has an orientation too. The seichel of Shammai's orientation is Gvura. The seichel of Beis Hillel and Hillel's orientation is Chesed. So that's already self. It's not the pure Etzem HaMoichin. At the level of Etzem HaMoichin, there's no limitation. It can be Chesed, Gvura, there's no limitation. But where's the limitation? It's in Chitzenius HaSeichel. That's the Midas, within Seichel. So then what happens is, the actual Moichin devolves and becomes the Mahus of the Midas. It's not two separate things. The Midas now are, the Midas engendered by this kind of intellectual pursuit, which to begin with was agenda laden, was a chesed pursuit. That's where I'm coming from. Or I'm coming from Gevura. Then the Seichel itself becomes and transmutes into the Midah, the Midah which is completely objective. And the whole Seichel or rationale is not negay anymore. It's become the Midah. The rationale was only good to get the objective of the Midas. The goal achieved. We don't need the arguments anymore. Thank you very much. And now we just got what we want. So there, the Mahus HaMoichin becomes Mahus HaMidas. There's no longer any element of intellect. But if it's the Etzem HaMoichin, which is purely and absolutely subjective, it doesn't have any orientation, no netiya to begin with. It's the Etzem HaMoichin, emes, and that's the end of it. And even as the Seichel then produces a midah, that midah is a very different kind of midah. It's a bittul dika midah. It's a midah that doesn't carry through the yeshus of the person. It's a love, it's an awe that's completely dictated by the objective truth that the Seichel has produced. Do you understand the difference? It's a very different kind of emotion. It's not an abrasive emotion. It's not a selfish emotion, as emotions are in their own world. It's an emotion that the Seichel, the Etzem HaSeichel, is transparently present there. And it's all about the objective truth. And hence, attraction, love, or fear. It's a bittul dika midah, completely bittul dika midah. That's why, because it's an example where the Etzem HaMoichin is drawn down. Did the Moichin produce a midah? The answer is yes. But it didn't change. Even the mid itself, we can see the Etzem HaMoichin still there. The nature of this person's emotion is not subjective, but completely objective. It's a very humble and fluid and truthful love, or as the case may be. Do we hear the difference? Yeah, is this somewhat clear? Between the ha'orah of Seichel, again, ha'orah of the Seichel means the starting point is really my nature. Now, how am I going to justify the expression of my nature? So the Seichel guides it and justifies. Etzem HaMoichin is not about my nature, it's about the objective truth. And at that level, that's why sometimes Beis Shammai is Machameh, Beis Hillel is Shammai is Mekel, Beis Hillel is Machameh. That's a gil of Etzem HaMoichin. So that's a moshel, a relative moshel of to bring out what? That when it's Hamshocha Atzmi there's no change. When it's a ha'orah, we went from the world of intellect to the world of emotion, a complete transformation. Before it was the whole explanation, the whole business, the whole rationale, and now it's the pure emotion. What happened to the rationale? No one cares anymore. Goodbye, Charlie. Done the job. The Seichel, ha'orah of the Seichels become the midah. But the Etzem HaMoichin doesn't become the midah. The Etzem HaMoichin continues to be present in the midah, such that the midah is a bittul dika Seichel-driven midah. It means objectively driven midah. Same thing wants to say is the manna. It's all a mashal. But the manna is rooted in where in the tainug ha'elyon atzmi. Even though it comes down the mata as physical manna of these crystal wafers, as they call them, whatever. The tola the bedulcha, it's gashmius. Person, it's a tainug murgish and feel the taste, all the tastes of the world. But Betzma didn't change. It's still it's a tainug atzmi, which is why it didn't, as we'll see, it didn't really satisfy. Because Mamish didn't get down to the didn't become Ilam Hazim Mamish. Didn't look like a steak. It tasted like it. So it didn't satisfy that, the really subjective, I want to eat this kind of food. In Inyan it did, but not subjectively. More about that at the end of the Maimer. Excuse me. Okay, so back in the Maimer. V'chein binyan hashba lamata. So likewise, the Eibush is hashba to us. Shekol shar hashba is hagashmius. Everything else aside from manna, he said the rain and everything else in the world. Manna is lechem and hashemayim. Everything else is physical food. The hashba comes from above. But as it comes down here, it's undergone a radical transformation. It's physical food. The manna is still in your ruchni, even lamata. So all the hashbois and mishochi, shekol sharashbois hagashmis by lamat from shashinem mahus. All the other physical hashbois aside from the manna, they come down here and are completely changed from the way they are lamaila. The chesed of Atzilus becomes the sweetness of the physical apple down here. It's incomparable. Even though nothing evil descends from above, it's all alikusim pure. But still, since it comes through tzimtzum, there is psoilus means again what? What's the word? Ademoy says the word. It's residual waste.
Excrement?
Huh?
Excrement?
That's a strong word that refers. That's soya. Okay, that's the ultimate psoilus. Yeah. So why? Because this symptom and the earth undergoes changes, and it comes down what b'mata begashmius, and since it comes down begashmius, there's the ra, there's the toiv in it, as we learned in the previous Maimer. All right. Mashenken the Maimer Rosh Hamatis in Nedorim. The manna comes down fundamentally unchanged. That there's no psoilus, there's no waste, no secretion, no byproduct. It's pure, and moreover, it doesn't bring it here. The Rogat Shavah says, I think that it brings it. That's also why the manna. You tell me the explanation for this. Why the manna was the same measure for everyone. It's all tight, it's all the same. The good. In Atzmi. In Inyan Atzmi, it's not subject to change. The Etzem Achayis is the same for everyone. Large or small, young or old, everybody get the same amount of manna. If it's oir, so oir spreads and manifests each one according to their level. And undergoes changes. Inyan Atzmi is the same across the board. In simple language, God says, I desire you all equally. There's no one of you that's more important than the other. For me, you're all everything. That's what it means in Aveda. So the manna comes at the same amount for each one. It's the Rogat Shavah. The Rogat Shavah was, I'm just coming from Australia. I'm repeating this in the name of Rabbi Shia Hecht. Rabbi Shia Hecht ben Peretz, ben Arav Chassid Peretz, who gives a shir in one of the shtibach there called Oil Dvore, and I would go every night, Mנחem-Av and daven there, and thoroughly enjoyed his shir. And he's a big buck. I think he's writing Svarim on the Rogat Shavah, a big Talmud Chacham, and it was very inspiring as well as entertaining. So he shared this with me. This is what's from the Rogat Shavah. I think it's important to look at this sichos. He shared with me some other very interesting things, friends, which I'll leave for Fabrengen. In learning, but it's not for a shir. Maybe, I don't know, but certainly for a Fabrengen. So, chalk it up. Ephraim, you're keeping a cheshbon, thinks you have to share by Fabrengen. This is another thing. Okay. So number 21 in the text now. So the manna comes down and it doesn't change. It's the essential tainuk. Now let's answer right now. This is the reason why one day can't give to the next. When does one day give to the next? Mitzad oir, friends, very poshut. Mitzad oir, which means particular giloi, chesed as a maila, gvur as a maila, so one gives to the next. Each one, right, has its own parameters, its own mailas and chesroinus by definition. Chesed has the maila of chesed, it doesn't have the maila of gevura. So this integration. Etzem is everything. Etzem is everything. So each day that the manna falls, even though it's falling through what? Sunday, which is chesed, the 6 middas, and Monday, which is gvur. What's coming on this day? And inyan atzmi, what is it saying? This day, this moment, you are everything. Gaman. Tomorrow, that moment is everything, the next moment is everything, and the next moment is everything. There's no sharing, integration, completion, because every moment is perfect. It's at etzem, every moment is perfect. In Avodah, every one of us is everything to the Eibishter, and every moment in our lives is everything to Him. That's what the man expresses. So this explains the Gewalt. The Zohar says, because it all comes from Shabbos, therefore you cannot give one to the other. What's got to do? Because the manna is rooted in Shabbos, therefore al yosem mena ad boker. And the Zohar is like emphatic, Rabbi Yehuda there. Yes, because it's all rooted in Shabbos, and Shabbos is the Tainik Atzmi. So to this is you should know that every day is everything. You are everything. Every moment is everything. That's dafka the union of expressed in the manda, which is the taino, which is the tachlis hakavana, the yom shekol Shabbos. Are we clear in that? That's the shot. Then we'll see inside the minor.
I would think that the opposite, though. I would think that mitzad etzem doesn't make a difference if it's on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah, okay. It's going to actually address that, you say, kind of your question. If it's etzem, so it's not bound, to the limitations of one day or the other, the minor basically asks you a question. You say. Okay, good. Let's continue. Yeah. Inside the text. We have 4 lines in the bottom. We have the same as I do. Kuf Pei Dalet, 4 lines in the bottom. So what is the way that the manna comes down? Shashisha midas baliyos on the 6 midas. They've ascended on Shabbos. As Gimel the Attic, so the 6 midas have ascended into the Pnimius of Attic. Gimel is Chachma bin Das, the 3 heads literally, the Pnimius of Attic. They're full of this Atzmizdik Ashpa. Each one is full. Each one is full. Each one lacks for nothing. So he's saying kind of, one doesn't have to give or lend to the other. It's all full. The etzem, every moment is everything. Already now the answer to your question, if I'm basically you, that's the chiddush, that every moment is everything. But we'll ask you a question and more later. So then, after Shabbos, when the 6 midas are now full and satiated, as it were, with the tainug atzmi that they receive on Shabbos, full. So there's no lending, borrowing. There's nothing is missing. It's perfect. All good. The words of Rabbi Shecht. And then as they descend, from them the manna is drawn. Therefore, every day is some shocha. Every midah, this is the language of the Zohar, explaining now. Every midah gives over what it got from the Tainuk Elyon. So Sunday gets the Tainuk Elyon. Sunday, what a Yid does on Sunday, you should know, because the Eibishter wants a relationship with you, and every moment is everything. And likewise Monday and Tuesday and so on. So the man is unlike all the other ashbais, that they come through ishtalshus. The etzem is not drawn down. It's all oir. Shenimshech madreg madreg. And as soon as you're talking revelation, so there's higher and lower, there's give and take, there's integration, there's completion, there's a need for achdus. Vashpo yadei stavshus b'pchinas hamalchus, and Ashpo comes down in the level of Malchus. And one thing that Malchus is, Shemekabel es mikol asviris. Malchus receives from all of the sviris. So what he's stressing here is that there's a receiver and a giver. That's the nature of Oid. Receiver and giver, and the place where the Oid is illuminates. Kiyudush esviris hamalchus dikras b'shem Knesset Yisrael. Sviris hamalchus is called Knesset. Knesset means a gathering. Knesset Yisrael al Shem Knesset V'Sefes Kol Oid, because it gathers all the lights. So when you're gathering all the lights, it's all a geographical language. What it means is there's the union of Kabbalah, there's receiving. Etzem is not Mashpia Makabal. This is it. Therefore, there can be Amshach from one day to the other. Because in the world of Ur, so each one has a Mayonech Soren, in the world of Mashpia and Makabal. So therefore, Chesed can give to Gevurah, and Gevurah gives to Chesed. There's integration. This is beyond the Ishtalshalus, Vashpohi, Miamidas El Yoines, Shaloyadis Lapshis Mamaship Pinis and Malchus. And we're not going through the whole process of Malchus, meaning to say, Makabal, Tzimtzum. Malchus also implies Tzimtzum, Helem, Lachain, it's the word, right? Hamshachid Vayim Beyoyma, it's the Etzem itself. Shekol Midem Ashpas Beyoyma, each day gives over its inyan in totality and completion and perfection. Okay, now the question that was raised moments ago. Yeah, so it's somewhat clear. Little question, little test. What else is there akin, which we said this morning, started the Maimer, akin to the manna, which also coming down Lamata fundamentally doesn't change and remains everything? What else? Only one more thing in all of existence, which is like the manna. The neshama. In some level Torah too.
Torah.
On some level Torah, not as essentially. But Torah, like Mayim, in the sense Lamata, and it does Makabal Tumah. So Torah also has this atzmistic property to a significant degree. So yes, Torah too, and the Shomas. Yeah. Okay, we'll stop here. We'll continue tomorrow, Be'ez Hashem, with the question.